Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to season number 5 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge presented by Performa Texas Elite Graphics right here on Apex Racing TV. Embarking on a 7-round sojourn around some of North America's, Europe's, and Asia's most storied circuits will once again shine those big Klieg lights on some of the best GT3 drivers from around the world. And new this season, we've welcomed the TCR class to the World Challenge. I'm Greg Ginsburg, and joining me in the announce booth is His Eminence Larry Lefty McLeod, along with John Robertson in the virtual production trailer, bringing you all the best views of tonight's action. And after a somewhat chaotic round 2 at Fuji, we head back to North America for round number 3. And what better way to celebrate Canadian Thanksgiving than to travel 40 miles, 64 clicks east of Toronto for the course best known for its high-speed sweepers, the track that put the Can in Can-Am, and the layout that served as the original home of the Formula One Canadian Grand Prix. That's Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, otherwise known as Mosport. And we're here tonight for a 90-minute run to the checkered flag. And so, Larry, happy Thanksgiving, eh?
Yeah, eh? It's going to be a good night when got a little snack on some poutine, eh? And drink a Molson.
That's it. And maybe make a run down to Timmy's for a double-double. That's right.
Yeah, we just offended half of our viewers. Good evening.
And maybe 2 of our drivers. One of which we're supposed to interview tonight. Anyway.
We can only hope.
Actually 3 of our drivers. That is right. So Larry, such a big difference between what we saw at Fuji a couple weeks ago, and I guess now running on 3 weeks here versus what we'll have at CTMP at Mosport. Very much wide open racing here, almost the entire track surface, with maybe the exception of Moss Corner, which is more like 2 corners, and as opposed to and contrasted against all those hairpins and tight portions of the track that we had over at Fuji. It should be a good run tonight, but and we'll talk about this a little bit later. I think the drivers are gonna have some definite challenges besides guts and glory and trying to carry as much speed through some of these huge sweepers as possible. They may run into some fuel issues later on in tonight's race. Might throw some kinks like at Fuji into the race, but we'll talk about that a little bit later.
All kinds of strategy to be in play tonight, and in addition to maybe having some extra fuel stops, it'll be interesting also to see if anyone can pass around here. Certainly between the 2 classes, we would expect some. But I'll tell you what, we've seen in the past with these GT3 cars and with these TCRs how difficult it is to get a pass made around here. Yeah. So let's see now with interclass mixing how difficult that becomes. Should be a lot of fun to watch.
It should be. I mean, in previous years of the World Challenge when we were here at Mosport, there were certainly some coming together between, at the time, our LMP2 cars and the GT3 cars. Now that the shoe is on the other foot and the GT3 drivers are the faster class, we'll see how they deal with our front-wheel drive TCR cars, which may have some tire wear, tire degradation issues later on in this race that may make things challenging, not just for them but for the GT3 drivers to find their way around. So let's do this, Larry. Why don't we head on over to CTMP, to Mosport, and Kevin Ford, who's sitting in the front seat of his race car right now, probably the only seat of his race car, as a matter of fact, and he's going to give us tonight's track guide for CTMP for Canadian Tire Motorsports Park.
Welcome, everyone, to beautiful Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Great to have you with us as we provide you your track guide today around this beautiful 2.46-mile course. This one is one of my favorites. It is full of undulation. It is full of radical corners, and it is full of a lot of speed. Here we go. Let's take off and head down the front straightaway. You'll notice our main pit area to the right, our fans to the left, sitting up on the hillside there, as they do around most of this course. Coming down into turn 1 here, this is a very fast right-hand sweeper. Drivers will use up every inch of that exit to get a good run up into turn 2 here. And this is the dastardly corner. Track just falls out from underneath you. Car wants to drift out into the grass there. You got to be real careful coming to throttle. Coming down into turn 3 here, pretty simple turn, a little bit of a crest there at apex. Tend to get that back in loose there as well. As we come out of 3, we'll head down into 4 here. This will take us into Moss Corner, the famous Moss Corner. Down into second gear here for this corner. We're going to get a wide rotation, come right back to the bottom and right back to the floor and up and out of that corner and up onto Andretti straight away. 2 very slight bends to the right here. Turns 6 and 7, coming around 6 now. This is the best opportunity for slipstream here at Canadian Tire. One long backstretch here, and this is where overtaking happens. Coming down here into turn 8. Big sweeping carousel. This will bring us to the left-hander of 9. Our pit entry will be to the right there. And then into the final quarter of turn 10, right back to throttle and up out of the exit. This will bring us back across the stripe. There you go. There's your track guide for Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Thank you for being with us.
All right, and thank you to Kevin Ford for tonight's track guide of Mosport, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. And Larry, I mean, we can talk about it all night long, and we likely will. But the speeds that these drivers get here, just absolutely amazing. Downhill, off camber, uphill, cambered, and then have to go and slow down for that Moss corner, which was added here after the very first race, I believe in 1960, when Sterling Moss took the very first win at Mosport and recommended a change to that corner. And I find it very much like the entrance to Oak Tree at VIR, where you come up the hill, have that little bend at turn 11, and then have to kind of get on the binders and get the car to rotate while still carrying speed onto the longest straightaway of a racetrack.
In aspect, it's very, very similar to Oak Tree in that, especially the way you brake and have to kind of drive into it, kind of trail braking all the way down. The biggest difference here is that drop and the dip that seems to happen as you come off the corner, the second apex there, and how rough it is to be able to get the power down, especially I think in these TCRs, to try and get the right amount of rotation out of that back end as the front drivers start to hook up and get out of there. It's always a tough go here in anything, but I think specifically in the front drives to get it to rotate correctly and still get power down that long and Andretti straight.
All right, so Larry, we've got our drivers heading out on track right now for their 15-minute lone qualifying session. And what that means, essentially, they'll have 15 minutes. They'll have the track essentially to themselves, and they will then have the opportunity to set their fastest laps, to set tonight's grid, but we're only going to give them 4 flying laps here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park in order to do that. And while they're out on their very first laps, and I think Evan Peichel now has set his very first flying lap and put a marker on the board of a 1:13.08. Let's do this. Let's take a look back to 3 weeks ago when our drivers were at Fuji Speedway. And we'll just run down the finishing orders and tell you where we stand in the championships right now in each of our 3 classes, TCR, GT3 AM, and GT3 Pro. And we're going to start off with TCR, where Mike Polasek from Full Send Racing, and I believe he was driving a Hyundai Elantra at the time. I believe he may be here tonight in a Honda Civic Type R. We're going to have to double check on that and check the running order this evening. But Polasek was your winner, with Brandon Whitworth from D2D E-Racing and his teammate Eric Violet rounding out the top 3 there at Fuji. Austin Knight finished just off the podium, and Shane Jordan finished in 5th. Knight running for MRP Grand Prix, and the Gray Ledbetter Racing Elantra of Shane Jordan finishing in 5th. And so if we take a look at the point standings now, after 2 rounds, you can see how close it is. The 2 D2D E-Racing teammates, only a single point separates them in the championship standings. Austin Knight from MRP Grand Prix, only 8 points back from the championship lead, 7 points off of Brandon Whitworth. He sits in 3rd, and then only 5 points back to Shane Jordan, and a tie for 5th right now between Brad Husty and Tom Jenkins, both of those drivers in their Hyundai Elantra. So really tight running right now. But again, only 2 rounds. We're into a very young season, only 2 rounds of 7 complete. All right, so let's take a look now at GT3 AM, where Steve Daniel and his SKKJ Racing Ferrari took the win with Alex Brown and his Primetime Motorsports BMW M4 GT3 finishing second. The D2D E-Racing Ferrari of Bobby Childs taking the last step on the podium in GT3 AM. We had John Sterling in his Porsche 911 representing Team Collusion, finished just off the podium in 4th. And the Driftline Racing Lamborghini Huracan and Nate Thomas came home in 5th. And so if we take a look at the point standings there, you can see almost as close right now. Steve Daniel with a 3-point advantage over Team Collusion's John Sterling, Nate Thomas, and Alex Brown, who I believe we're going to be talking to here in just a few moments. Those 2 drivers currently sitting tied for 3rd with 43 points and only 4 points back from there. Alex Brown's teammate Ed Morris sitting in 4th with Dean Dibdahl. Good to see Dean back here with 34 points currently. Sitting in 6th position. So let's jump over now to GT3 Pro, where Evan Peichel in the Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing Porsche 911 took the win. Orion Racing's Mike Dam piloted his Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo to 2nd. Jennifer McDonald, great run for Jennifer in the BMW M4. She's representing BTL Motorsports. She finished on the 3rd step of the podium. Nick Resputo in the HPDS Mercedes finished 4th, and Orion Racing's Travis Schwenke came home in 5th. And so if we take a look at the point standings now, again, after 2 rounds, Evan Peichel from Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing, currently your points leader with 74 points, 8 points back from there. Mike Dam in his Orion Racing Mercedes, Jennifer McDonald, another 7 points back in the BTL Motorsports BMW M4. And then we've got a whole host of Mercedes drivers. We've got Schwenke from Orion Racing. Then we've got Nick Resputo, only a point back from Schwenke. Jeff Jacobs, then another 8 points back from there in the streetsurvival.org machine. He's running in 6th. And you can see here, pretty darn close and tight in the point standings here after just 2 rounds. So let's go and take a look at some of the on-track action here. Larry?
Yeah, taking a look at Evan Peichel right now, who's had the first 2 wins, the first 2 rounds of the season, has really dominated so far here. He was quickest in practice at a 13.0, and he's already under that here in qualifying. 12.8, 1 minute 12.8. They are getting around this place in a hurry. And the rest of that front runners right now, Mike Dam and Jennifer McDonald, the same top 3 in the overall in the points, are sitting 1, 2, 3 on the early qualifying here in the GT3 Pro class. They're all moving pretty quick, but Peichel is just, none of the others are under their practice times, but Peichel is
just
deep.
Absolutely
Yeah.
deep in the field here. And, great to see Jennifer. We talked about Jennifer being coming and finishing on the podium last or 3 weeks ago, but to see her make that transition from the LMP2 cars over to GT3 and, put herself right up at the top of the field here. Really good to see. So let's do this.
Maybe
Larry.
the car just feels like her track car BMW, and she's just comfortable out there in a GT3
that
car.
That is true. Yeah, and a matter of fact, I think she mentioned that in the interviews a couple at round 1. And yeah, it's definitely working well for her. So right now we're on board with Mike Dam, currently 2nd fastest. He's on his 4th and final flying lap. That these drivers, at a minute 12, minute 13 a lap, it does not take them long to get around this 10-turn, 2+ mile course. And so Mike Dam here, trying to beat that 112.81, but I think this is as good an opportunity as ever. As we look at that Mercedes AMG going around Moss Corner and coming onto the Andretti straightaway, the way we can tell the GT3 Pro drivers and Pro cars from the AM cars is that the Pro cars will have those red number boards, red mirrors, red end plates, and also the big red windshield banner. As Mike Dam's Orion Racing machine does. The GT3 AM drivers, and why don't we maybe we can pick up Jeff Jacobs out on track here, also in one of the Mercedes.
He has the red on his.
Yeah, he has the red on his for some reason. I can tell you though that Jeff Jacobs is one of our AM category drivers. In a perfect world, he would have green mirrors, a green windshield banner, a green number board, and green end plates. But such is not the case right now. We'll try and get that figured out a little bit later. But oops, bad example, Greg. But he was the only AM category driver I could find on course.
In our defense, he has changed classes throughout the seasons between Pro and AM, so he could easily be confused. But we do know he is signed up tonight to run in the AM category, which normally would be green and green. If you're colorblind, it all looks the same. Trust us.
There you go. All right, so let's do this. Let's jump over now to Tom Jenkins, and pretty easy to tell the front wheel drive TCR cars from their rear wheel drive GT3 brethren. We're watching Tom Jenkins right now in the number 68 machine. The TCR cars all have the blue number boards, blue mirrors, blue windshield banners, blue end plates, yada, yada, yada. And Larry, in looking at the field, it does appear as though Mike Polachek has moved from the Hyundai Elantra over to the Honda Civic Type R, and he is currently your provisional pole sitter in TCR. Fast time for him, a 125.45, about 4/10 of a second up on Brandon Whitworth in the D2D iRacing Hyundai Elantra. If we look at GT3 AM right now, your provisional pole sitter is Bobby Childs with a fast time of a 113.66, and I believe most of our GT3 AM drivers have completed their 4 flying laps. A few of them looks like they may have called it quits after 3. But Bobby Childs, your fastest AM category driver, Alex Brown, who we hope to have in here in just a moment, is second fastest, and then third fastest is Dean Dibdahl. And Larry, this may throw my my segue out the window here, but it doesn't look like we have Alex Brown ready to come into the commentary booth.
Check real quick on Comms Channel 2.
There he is. There he is, Alex Brown. So let's do this. He's sitting there waiting for us. Let's bring in Alex Brown, driver of the number 43 Primetime Motorsports GT3 AM BMW M4. Finished second at Fuji, currently sitting fourth in the championship. And talk about synergy, Larry. I love that word of late. He lives in Ontario. Who knows? He may have actually raced at the real CTMP.
All right, Alex Brown is here with us tonight, and as we are celebrating all things Canadian here, Alex, here at Canadian Motorsports Park, as well as on the Canadian Thanksgiving. How are you doing this evening?
Good. I don't know. I'm feeling good about the race, but a little nervous at the same time. I don't know if it's a turkey I had yesterday.
could be. Maybe just kind of still had that bit of hangover there, the turkey. But no, you had a really good your first round. I guess you raced there a couple weeks back there at Fuji, finishing up on the podium. How comfortable are you here at Mosport relative to other tracks?
I'm probably one of my more comfortable tracks. Like this, gosh, I used to go to this track 5 years running. I went to this track. I've gone around on a bike. I don't know how much that counts towards actually understanding the track. But I mean, I've watched every single corner live, in person, in different cars, in touring cars. This year I went to the IMSA race, and that was so much fun. I think I'll probably go back. First time I've been back in a while, but I love this track.
Yeah, it seems to be one of those that's just an absolute gem for those folks that are aware of this place and what kind of speed you can get. But you've had a chance now to get a couple of practice sessions in and now a qualifying session in. How's the setup of the car feeling? And are you more of a fast qualifying setup and struggle in the race, or a little bit more of the race setup?
I haven't quite figured it out yet. I've got a fast race setup. I was practicing a new line in turn 2. Which is kind of mitigating some of the effects of I was bottoming out or something, and I think I was hitting a bump, and so I've been trying a bit of a wider line. I'm giving away a little bit in order to, frankly, not put it in the grass and off.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping the payoff is going to pay off. The trade-off, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's one of those. It's a 90-minute race, a lot of time to be spent out there, a lot of wear on the tires on a really fast track like this. Have you done long endurance runs with the setup, or just in general, of what it's like to 90 minutes just keep going like qualifying laps?
Yeah, I've done a few longer runs, and if I can kind of get it to about lap 10, the rest of the run's perfectly fine. So, here's crossing my fingers that we'll get a good start here, and and get a great finish. I want one more spot higher tonight.
That's the goal always. So good luck with that tonight. Maybe we'll get a chance to talk to you in about 90 minutes, and good luck with this group. Should be a fun one.
Yeah, take it easy on me. I'm an oval guy.
All right. We will for sure. Good luck.
All right, there you go. Alex Brown, driver of the number 43 Primetime Motorsports GT3 AM BMW M4, and great. He mentioned that at the very end. Alex is also running in the Extreme Motorsports Oval Cup Series as well. So as he's finding himself running in multiple disciplines. And Larry, as you were interviewing Alex, I was looking over the YouTube chat. First off, Rich Dibdahl says that Steve Daniels' car is showing all of the green number boards and what have you. So who knows? Maybe he's colorblind. Also, I suspect problems for Bobby Childs tonight as we get ready to grid up here. Is apparently Stubby is not in the chat. So yeah. I don't know what he's going to do.
Never in the same place. I'm just saying.
It's like Superman and Clark Kent. All right, so Larry, we've got our starting grid ready to go. Let's run down the order. I'll start off with the GT3 Pro drivers here, and we'll run them down first. Starting on pole tonight with a qualifying time of 1:12.814. It's Evan Peichel from Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing. Mike Dam from Orion Racing will start next to him on the outside of row number 1. Then starting in third, Jennifer McDonald from BTL Motorsports with Travis Schwenke starting to her left in fourth. Nick Rasputo from HPDS Racing will start fifth. Jake Gortson will start sixth. Chris Thorman will start on the inside of row number 4, while David Payton will start in eighth. Then we've got Kevin Ford. We'll have to see if he's out there. I didn't see Kevin Ford qualify, but maybe he is. Let's move over now to GT3 AM, Larry, and then I'll pick up the TCRs when you're done.
All right, sounds good. So on the GT3 AM grid, on the lead pole spot there, D2D Racing's own Bobby Childs, who doesn't have his biggest fan here tonight. We'll see how he copes with that. Alongside him, we just talked to him, Alex Brown from Primetime Motorsports. On row 2 on the inside, we know Rich is watching. It's Dean Dibdahl from ZP Motorsports. On his left will be Nate Thomas from Driftline Racing. Row 3 on the inside, Brennan Horn from D2DE Racing, lined up alongside. He should have hopefully green mirrors and windshield banner. Jeff Jacobs from StreetSurvival.org. On row 4, Racing for Mental Health on Mental Health Day is Jose Cabrera. On the outside of the row 4, Steve Daniel from SKKJ Racing. On row 5, Reverse Grid Racing's Jay DeVries alongside Russ Ruddick from Flying Tortoise Motorsport. And on row 6, John Casey from 046 Racing. And the other John Sterling from Team Collusion.
All right, so let's take a now look at our TCR drivers and your pole sitter. From Full Send Racing with a time of 125.454, Mike Polachek. Eric Violet will start on the outside of row number 1. Brandon Whitworth will start third with Andrew Parente starting in fourth. Then we've got Tom Jenkins with TGT Racing. He's going to start fifth with Brad Husty from Husty Racing starting in sixth. Nick Horvath will start seventh, and Jeremy Goringer will start eighth. And the interesting thing here tonight is that all of our drivers are driving Hyundai Elantras except for our pole sitter, Mike Polachek, and Jeremy Goringer, who's driving the Audi RS3 LMS.
Real quick note, we had talked earlier to Kevin Ford that they might only be able to make about 44 minutes in GT3 on the fuel they have. It's a 90-minute race, and it's a full-paced lap. Might need a splash and go at the end or some interesting fuel-saving strategies. So we'll give you more as the race goes on. But a lot of these drivers not exactly burning fuel at any kind of high rate here on the pace lap.
Yeah, lift and coast on the pace lap is, I think, the operative
They're drafting
plan
the
here.
pace car.
Yes. All right, as the field is going through the S's and coming up to White's corner, the final corner, we've got a green flag, early green flag here at CTMP, and we are underway as we've got our pole sitter Heading down into turn number 1, down the hill, Evan Peichel is your leader currently. Mike Dam, Jennifer McDonald slots in the BMW in third, and then side by side, Bobby Childs and Travis Schwenke. Bobby Childs, our AM category pole sitter, trying to slot in ahead of Travis Schwenke. He gets it done, move him up to 4th overall. Then Schwenke, Rasputo, Alex Brown, who's running 2nd in GT3 AM, as we now get ready for the start of our TCR race and the green flag before our drivers even get onto the front straight, and jumping to an early lead there, Mike Polachek in his Honda Civic Type R. Eric Violet in 2nd. His teammate from D2DE Racing slots in right behind him in 3rd. Then Andrew Parente, Tom Jenkins, Nick Horvath, your top 6, as we already have about a little bit of a gap between our top 4, followed up by Parente going back to Jenkins. So a good gap there as we now jump back over to the GT3 action, Larry.
Yeah, crazy opening lap, but so far so good. It took them a while to sort things out. Now it looks like mostly single file as they're heading down through the S's. A couple of little side-by-sides perhaps in the back of the group of the front 5 have definitely got it sorted out with Evan Peichel leading the way over the rest of the field.
All right, we
still
can see
side by
here.
side there. I'm seeing Steve Daniel
And Jay DeVries going door to door, coming through the final corner, heading onto the front straight. DeVries cannot get by the other Ferrari there. Well, we've got multiple Ferraris in the field, but can't get by Steve Daniel in that battle for 6th.
Contact.
And going off. There you go. It is Jeff Jacobs in the number 38
and Russ
machine.
Ruddick, and now
and
collecting at the back.
John Casey and oh my gosh, John Casey getting into the 95 of Russ Ruddick.
Yeah. Looks like he just kind of ran out of place to go coming down the hill there. Just part of the struggles and the difficulty of this track. That bottom drops out. Some folks go sideways, and the track gets blocked pretty easily.
There we go. As we and we'll wait to see what the rulings are on those as we jump back up. Now we've got Bobby Childs in the red, white, and blue Ferrari here this evening. Just gets passed by Nick Rasputo in that all-black Mercedes AMG GT3, the number 132 machine. So drop Childs now back into 6th position as he's given up spots to both Schwenke and Rasputo, who are trying to move up in that pro field. But Childs still leading AM. But here's a bit of a surprise as Childs has dropped 2 positions with just 1 full lap in the books. Dean Dibdahl, who started 9th overall, now finds himself in 7th. Next car in line is our GT3 AM leader, Bobby Childs. So looks like
Bobby dropped relative to the rest of the pro field, but he still does lead the AM field.
He's got about a 2-second advantage right now.
But Dibdahl has actually moved up a couple spots, able to get around Alex Brown. Now Alex it looks like Alex and Dean are being investigated for some contact there on that opening lap, so we'll see what the stewards have to say about that. But it did leave young Dean now on the heels of Bobby Childs and pushed Alex Brown now down to 4th in class, and looks like about 9th overall or 10th overall.
All right, so a little early on, but Evan Peichel, who was the measure of the field in qualifying and quite a bit faster in practice as well all week, he has about a 3/4 of a second, well, actually about 1/8 of a second advantage right now over Mike Dam. But we're seeing here where our GT3 cars are already coming up onto the back of the TCR field. We expected that the TCR cars would probably only run about 63 laps over the course of this 90-minute race, but the GT3 cars 73 laps. And again, they're already coming up and starting to lap some of that TCR field.
That was quick. Yes. And of course, you have the staggered start with a track that's so short and only 1 minute and 14 seconds or so to get around, or minute 12, I guess, if you're Evan Peichel. Doesn't take long to catch the field, and there goes one already. That's one of our TCR competitors.
And I think that was Brandon Whitworth, who might have gotten a little tap from Mike Dam as Dam was starting to make his way down through the field. We'll have to take a look at that. Hopefully we can get a look at that a little bit later. But now 3 and 4 wide.
Jennifer's going to take the opportunity.
Coming down the Andretti straight here.
She's trying to get up alongside him before they get to the S's. That Mercedes looks like it's got a pretty good pull over the BMW, but she's going to get out there and try to catch a draft. But boy, this TCR traffic is crazy. Yeah,
this is already turning into a very congested track as we now take a look at Nate Thomas trying to make the move on Jose Cabrera. He gets it done. Nick Thomas in the number 10 Lamborghini, but now Thomas runs off, runs wide, coming out of the Moss hairpin, and puts the car into the wall.
This is like rush hour on the 401. This is nuts.
Oh my gosh.
Toronto reference point.
I know it is. Oh my gosh, here we go now as we have Travis Schwenke and Nick Risputo trying to get through some of the lead cars in our TCR class. Matter of fact, they're coming up right now in our TCR leader. Mike Polachek in his Honda Civic Type R, they get that done as they come down through Clayton Corner. But it is getting very, very tight here.
This is crazy. We've as you mentioned earlier, we've done the races here at World Challenge when it was GT3s with the LMP2s, and I don't recall this much of a speed delta, especially coming around 3, as we're seeing here between these GT3s, TCRs.
Yeah, and Larry, I think also one of the things that we're seeing, especially early on in the race here, is where the TCRs typically are racing very much in packs. They are using the draft. They do have, challenges, passing in a straight line because they are really very evenly matched for the most part. The GT3 cars, they're not just coming up on single cars. They're coming up on lines of 4 and 5 here as now. Jake Gordson in the number 12 Mercedes goes around, gets into the tire wall. Seeing a lot of damage here. Have not seen any of these. Well, I was going to say I haven't seen any of these cars take to the pits yet. It looks like Brandon Whitworth is head to the pits. Tom Jenkins as well, both in the Hyundais. Russ Ruddick in the Lamborghini, and now heading down the pit lane as well is Jake Gordson as well to see about getting repairs. So
yeah, this
already
has been a bit crazy so far.
Yeah, and I think when I opened up, Larry, that I said that there was chaos at Fuji. Nothing along the lines of this. No,
we have not seen this level of chaos probably since a couple of years ago. We were at the race at Lime Rock, where it was kind of a little bit crazy in this sort of fashion. But we're still seeing now they've kind of sorted things out for a lap or two. Is this battle here between Schwenke and Rissaputo? This has been going on now a few laps between these two guys in these Mercedes, and just kind of nose to tail. They were able to make their way through the traffic sort of in sync, and we'll see if Rissaputo now has anything. They're now just trying to chase down Jennifer McDonald as they had gotten their way around Bobby and kept Bobby behind them, but they might actually be gaining on Jennifer McDonald out in front by about a half a second just on the last lap alone.
Yeah, they've got about 2.5 seconds separating them from Jennifer McDonald, currently running in third, the number 99 machine. But if they keep battling it out, that may change. All right, heading down the pit lane now is Brennan Horan in the number 45 Ferrari.
Oh,
one of the other D2D eRacing Ferraris.
They've all gone with the America livery here for racing night in Canada.
Oh, somebody get me a 24. All right, so
Jeff Jacobs now making his way around 3.
All right, let's take a look here at this replay coming up as we have now our overall leader, Evan Peichel, trying to slice through TCR traffic. And as he does, Mike Dam, this was the replay, Larry, of Mike Dam and Brandon Whitworth. And it looks like indeed there was some contact there as the Mercedes came down the hill.
Yeah, that definitely ended up worse for the wear there for Whitworth. Mike Dam didn't seem to really be bothered by it so much, as he's now just trailing Evan Peichel, race leader, by about 1 second, as this battle here is still going on between Schwenke and Rissaputo. These guys are just in lockstep. But if Rissaputo is able to do any fuel savings, that might also be why, if you're stuck in traffic even at this early of the race, it wouldn't be a terrible idea if you got to stop twice to take your splash now. I haven't seen anybody do it yet, but 8 laps in, 10 minutes in, if that's what you think at the end of the race you might just need, may not be the worst strategy in the world.
And just run and just run a long stint at the end rather than popping in and getting the splash at the end and just kind of turn everything on its head. All right, let's take a look here, and Brennan Horn still sitting in the pit lane, so it looks as though he's got some repairs underway as he's now been in his pit stall for over a minute and a half.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's going to make it back from this one. But look at this, the leader battle here with Evan Peichel. Last time by was a quicker lap at a 13.8 to Mike Dam's 14.0 this time. Still picks up another 10th, so he's now stretched that lead to almost a second and a half. Michael definitely showing some pace here, as he should be coming up on some more TCR traffic, and there's at least one in front of him. Trying to make out that car number.
Yeah, that's the Audi RS3, so that would definitely be Jeremy Oranger.
Yeah.
Yeah, the number 17 machine. And Goringer currently running 6th in TCR. Of course, he's the last car in TCR currently on track, as Whitworth and Jenkins are still on the pit lane getting repairs. So if we go and...
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, if we quickly reset the field here in TCR, Mike Polachek is your leader currently, and he's opened up, I believe, almost a 4.5 second advantage now over Eric Violet and Andrew Parente. And, you know, Larry, interesting to see here is Polachek has moved over to the Civic Type R from the Elantra, you know, and as we saw, not in the World Challenge, but in the Sports Car Series, D2D had been running the Civic Type Rs and had made the conscious decision to move over to the Elantras, feeling that it was a better all-around chassis than the Type R. But Polachek kind of, at least early on, handing them their lunch. And if we take a look over at GT3, and Bobby Childs continues to hit that field. Dean Dibdahl currently running 2nd in class, about 4.5 seconds back, I believe. Running 3rd in AM is Alex Brown, who we talked to a little bit earlier today, and Steve Daniel running in 4th. And then, of course, in GT3 Pro, still Evan Peichel, your leader, as he continues to stretch things out now over Mike Dam at about 1.1 seconds separating him. Oh, and one of our
that's
D2D.
Bobby.
That's Oh, and it looks like he's got a lot of damage there. Larry he came across. Well, let's see if he gets back out on track.
I'm not so sure he does. He might have just spun to the inside and kept it pretty clean.
Well, maybe you're right. It looked as though he had a little bit of a crab walk here. Let's take a look and see exactly what happened. We'll see the replay here as he
coming
comes
into
up.
Moss, under braking, gets it wide, catches a little bit of dirt, and just hooks and hooks and hooks, and luckily...
And no contact, yeah.
Look at that. Uses the throttle to keep the spin going, backs it out of the way for the incoming. In fact, his teammate there going on by, waits for the crowd to clear, and then makes his way out.
Yeah, and all the while showing the side of that door, getting some key camera time there for the
just the only
car.
damage is to his gentle ego.
His gentle ego, and he doesn't have Stubby here tonight to stroke it. All right, so, and there he is back out on track as he now drops. Well, he's still sitting 3rd in class. Has been able to keep Steve Daniel and Jose Cabrera behind him.
He lost about 13, 14 seconds, though, to young Dean, and now, of course, trailing also Alex Brown. But so Dean Dibdahl now leading the M category.
Yeah, that's the deal there, as he now works to the front of the field. And I know we've got Rich Dibdahl, Dean's father, sitting in the chat. By the way, Rich has offered to allow us to call him Stubby if we wish.
The Stubby substitute.
Yes, substitute Stubby. All right.
So this shows you right here, as we've kind of flashed through this one a few times, how difficult it is to pass around Mosport.
Yeah.
Chris Aputo has been, he's been on Travis's tail now since the start of this race. Can't seem to find a way on by. There's no real draft opportunities, no long straightaways. Just the only braking point that's significant hard braking is going into Moss, and even that, because it's a rise into a double apex off of a sweep, makes it very difficult to pass. And even after that, you think, okay, well, maybe down the next straightaway, if you can get a better run, it goes into those high-speed S's, and it just makes it very difficult to make a pass around here. It ends up being a sort of a combo trick if you can make one stick.
Yeah, I think the key, there are a couple of keys here. One is luck with traffic, and 2 will be, certainly breaking into and hoping that the driver has a bit of a challenge over at Moss. But we also see, Larry, more times than not, where drivers will overdrive that final corner, turn 10. They'll maybe turn in a little bit early, run into the grass, drivers left, and lose momentum onto the front straight there. And that, but that in many cases is it. I mean, you're essentially hoping for somebody to make a mistake as opposed to using any kind of real strategy to affect the pass.
Yeah, if we take a look at this battle here, you got Jeff Jacobs there, and I believe that is Jose Cabrera riding along there with him in the Ferrari. Watch Cabrera here. If he could stay on Jacobs' left on the outside going through the S's, he has a chance to be on the inside as they come into the second to last corner. We have seen passes work that way. If you can really muscle your way up in there, he's not able to in this lap. But that's, to me, one of the better ways to pass around here is just try and force someone to one side, but stay out there, stay next to him through those S's, and maybe something good will happen to you.
Yeah, something good will happen to you. Maybe you have a TCR car that you can use as a pick
just don't hit the
impede them.
TCR car.
Yeah, don't hit it.
They're not there as to be used as physical picks like in basketball. You need to actually avoid them in the contact.
Which we haven't seen yet so far tonight. All right, so as we're watching on track right now, there's Jose Cabrera trying to make up a little bit of ground just ahead of him, Jeff Jacobs and Jay DeVries. DeVries currently running 5th in AM. And as we see here, as Jacobs really started to separate himself out a little bit from Cabrera, DeVries running as long as you can position the car well, again, it's very, very difficult.
If you can get a good run off of Moss, it defines your lap around here. You can make small mistakes everywhere else, hold your position. You can't make a mistake getting on. You can even be conservative on the way in to the Moss hairpin. As long as you get a strong exit on the way out, you can hold your position, and that's what we're seeing right now with DeVries. You can see it looks like Jacobs is quicker through the S's, but there's just nowhere to go with it.
Nowhere to go as DeVries gets onto the brakes, maybe a couple feet before the 38 car was looking to do so, and he's got really no option there, because if he tries to carry the brake or carry the speed, he's likely going to have to go offline and may not be able to make the next corner.
And Jacobs here is going to try and hustle around these TCRs. He's got to be careful. There's not much grip out there around this corner too.
And you can see him sawing at the wheel, Larry, there on the outside where there just is not a lot of grip, but he manages to keep that Mercedes on track. But, in doing so, he loses around 4 car lengths to the DeVries entry.
Yeah, because once you start going slow, and that's Andrew Parente in the TCR, and the 64, I believe that is Peyton.
David Peyton, yeah.
Yeah, in the D2D Esports GT3. So that's a little bit of coming together there at the Moss hairpin.
Yeah, we seem to see the D2D cars having some issues over at Moss. Let's take a look and see exactly what happened here. As the 64 car was the lead car going in, he drops a wheel into the dirt, as does the TCR car. Yeah, so no contact, but mirroring exactly what the 64 car does. Parente goes right off into the dirt.
So of all the things the D2D Racing teammates needed to do, Bobby spins a couple laps ago, and now it's Peyton doing the same thing. Peyton now getting camera time for in his home country as well. Another one of our Canadian drivers tonight, along with Mike Dam, and of course, we mentioned already Alex Brown. Speaking of Mike Dam, is he still kind of looking at the order here? There he is.
There he is.
Yes. As he's still running, but fading back a little bit, about 4 seconds now behind Peichel.
As Peichel just ran the fastest lap of the race down at a 1:13.6, almost 0.6 of a second off that pace is Mike Dam.
Yeah, that's a lot. Peichel has got that Porsche really well hooked up around this place, and we'll see if how this plays out, because as we talked about during the warm-up lap, there may be a fuel strategy in play here for everybody, in that not sure we can go more than 45 minutes on a stint, and in a 90-minute race that means at some point you might need a second stop, unless you could do a lot of fuel savings through one or both of those stints. Now I would guess that Evan Peichel's not doing a lot of fuel savings right now.
No,
given his pace.
And I suspect that Mike Dam isn't either, although he may be at this point a little bit off, but it's very similar to his qualifying time, so perhaps not. As we jump now, here we go.
What a battle
Schwenke
here.
and Resputo have managed to catch up to Jennifer McDonald. 3-car battle for third right now, as McDonald, much like Dam, has lost track of the car ahead, but both Schwenke and Resputo had kept the battling to a minimum and have carried a little bit more pace than the BMW.
Yeah, Jennifer had really good pace both in practice and in qualifying. I wonder if she just made a couple of mistakes here to sort of lose some of that advantage over the Schwenke and Resputo pairing coming up behind her. So we'll see if maybe there's a difference now with actual different platforms. Are there advantages for the Mercedes over the BMW in certain sectors, or maybe even just better on tire wear now that they've gotten 17 laps on them? Or does that BMW still have a little bit of something to show the Mercedes?
Yeah. You know, and Larry, I mean, it may just be a question of consistency here, and perhaps McDonald was doing some fuel savings. Fastest times of the race are actually quite similar. McDonald with a 1:14.2, Schwenke with a 1:14.1, Resputo about 0.2 faster than that at a 1:13.9. So, you know, again, very similar lap times.
Comparable pace. It often does just come down to consistency, as we've got a little battle here going as well between Husty and Horvath.
And we've got our leader, our overall leader, Peichel, sitting right back behind him with nowhere to go. And you can see now Mike Dam starting to close things down very quickly, as he now is going to run into issues as they come onto the front straight. But that lead that Evan Peichel had is all but disappeared now, as it's down to, I believe, only about 3/4 of a second, about 8/10 now. He's going to have to try and build that up again. But we're going to stick with this TCR battle for a minute here, Larry.
And Husty and Horvath have a great battle going, and they didn't want to give up anything because, as we've talked about, how difficult it is to pass around this track. So if you have an opportunity to be side by side with somebody through those S's, the last thing you're going to do is yield to the overall leader who's just trying to lay another lap on you. You just want to battle here. This is for a potential podium spot.
Yeah, and, you know, right back behind, we're just starting to see that battle for third. In GT3 Pro coming up right behind, as Jennifer McDonald had actually gained a little bit of an advantage over the two cars behind, and perhaps got up to these TCR cars at the best time possible, just past that little bend on the Andretti straightaway here, and perhaps
Steve Horvath tries to cling to the back of a GT3. He's not. He's going to stick in tow.
Yeah. Just kept the car all the way pin drivers left, let them go by. I would have thought that he might have tried to let them drag him up maybe another car length or so closer to Brad Husty, but couldn't do it.
Not this time by. We'll see if Nick, another one of our Canadians in the field, is going to try and pull up a little bit closer the next time around.
All right, let's take a look at this, Larry, as we jump back over now to the Audi R6. He gets a bunch of curbs. See how hoppy Geringer gets, and he's got coming underneath him.
Oh, he got sandwiched.
Oh, and who was that? Looking to see who that was.
I think that was Alex Brown.
Yeah.
He's got the plaid BMW, so I think that's who it was.
Yep, indeed it was. It was Alex Brown, and then we had one of the D2D drivers who just missed the. That was either Dibdall or not Dibdall. Pardon me. It was either. Oh my gosh, Bobby Childs. Yeah. Well, Peyton's in the Lamborghini. It was one of the red, white, and blue Ferraris. So it was either Bobby Childs or perhaps it was Brennan Horan, but I don't think Horan is out of the pit, so it must have been Bobby Childs. All right, on the pit lane now, speaking of which, is Alex Brown.
There he is with that injured vehicle, as he, after their bit of contact, had his own bit of off. And that's not coming back on when you're top of the tire barrier like that. That's the definition of high-centered. Well, this battle's pretty good here. Yeah. Jennifer's under so much pressure from Travis and then Orion Racing, Mercedes, as well as Nick Resputo behind. All three of these so tight together and still working their way through traffic. And we saw what traffic did to Evan Peichel. Ruining was about a 3.5-second lead to be able to bring Mike Dan back up. Now, Evan's gone ahead and stretched that back up to 1.3, but that kind of coming together, that when you have to give up that kind of time in certain sectors of the track, could easily change the order, especially when you're looking at a battle like this for the third in the pro class.
going to follow here as they're coming up on our leader in TCR. And you know, you could see there as Polachek not giving way through the S's, making the GT3 cars find a way around them, and they do on the front straight. But you know, so we've seen here that I think McDonald has had a little bit better luck with traffic, and probably the one driver who's been caught out is Travis Schwenke, as we now see.
Well, Schwenke's the one now ahead.
Oh no, you're ahead. I'm sorry, you're right. Schwenke's gotten around Jennifer McDonald. My apologies there. I was actually looking at Dean Zibdahl a little bit further back.
You know, here comes Jennifer, as she did catch up to that TCR car. Took her time, tried to go on by, and the opportunistic Schwenke gets side by side and says, "I'll take them both.
Yep.
Thank you very much." And around
right in the S's, yeah.
Last time Jennifer is going to be cordial to catching up onto a TCR, so she's got to get to work now and try and catch back up to Travis. As replay now coming into Moss for Jennifer on board. That looks bumpy. That looks slippery.
And that looks like going around.
It does.
And she's
mid-track trying to get out of the way.
Yep.
That's going to cost her about 10 seconds from what we've seen. There's also looks like some things happening back there, and that's Nick Rissaputo.
Rissaputo goes around as well. So Rissaputo now drops back to 6th position overall, 5th in pro. McDonald, as she rejoined, is back up at the 4th, but pretty good gap. I think around 7 seconds separating McDonald and Schwenke right now in the battle for 3rd.
Let's catch a bit of how this happened. As Rissaputo started outside, went inside, and I think he caught that is Brandon Whitworth, who had just come back out after getting his repairs from earlier, just to get tagged. And I wonder if Rissaputo made it look like he was going to go left, and when he came back to the inside, Brandon probably thought he was still on the left and just lost track of him. So, boy, unfortunate night there for Whitworth. He's having a rough one.
Yeah, he is. And let's see if Whitworth is back in the pits.
He is.
So needing more repair there. And Rissaputo is still out on track, still circulating. We'll see if he brings that car down the pit lane here. It looked as though it had escaped relatively undamaged. However, we are seeing here now that the number 10 car, that's Nate Thomas, who's sitting in the pits right now getting repairs, was just assessed a penalty for contact. I'm trying to see who that contact was with. I don't know if that's something that and I knew it. Rob would be able to pull that up. Maybe not. It's a good replay of the pit lane, though.
It's showing the aftermath.
Yes. All right, so let's jump back. Oh, maybe we have it now, or maybe we don't. All right, let's just go back to the live racing, Rob, and we'll try
John.
and pick that up a little.
John,
I'm sorry. You can call me Ray.
You can call me Al. It's a good song. All right, so as we get right into the heart of this with David Payton, another one of our Canadians here, in the number 64. That's the goal tonight. Get all the Canadians all of the screen time we can, as he's in a battle with John Sterling up there in the Porsche.
I wear my sunglasses at night. Anyway, all right. As we're on board right now with David Payton, who's had his issues as well this evening, trying to get up to the GT3 AM entry of Sterling in that Porsche 911 GT3. And my gosh, the Porsche just puts the power down.
Yes.
Coming out of Moss, I think better than any of the other cars here, but he takes a very different line out of that corner as well. Maybe uses up a little bit extra track in the Porsche compared to the Lambo, but you can see the Lambo's still not able to close anything down here, even along the long-ish back straight.
Yeah, the Porsche definitely has some pretty good wheels around this place. It seems to do really well on these high-speed type of courses. And as shown by Evan Peichel, he's making that work everywhere, having already 2 wins under his belt this season in a Porsche, and here he is dominating this race so far. So I think Sterling certainly has a pretty good platform under him to compete pretty well here tonight. I'm partial to it. I think if given the choice of the cars that are available, I would probably also choose the Porsche. The Lamborghini always seems to want to try to kill me. The Mercedes is pretty good. Mercedes is kind of the easy button. It just sort of goes where you want it to go.
Yeah.
Finally had a chance about a week or so ago to try this new version of the Mercedes. They've replaced it with the updated version of the GT3, and it's solid. It's as good or obviously better than the old one was.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's soft enough that you can just pound the curbs with it. It's got a long wheelbase, fairly easy, just seems, handling is just very benign.
And for a so-called front engine car, that engine is so far back up against the driver's toes that it really acts a lot like a mid-engine in some cases, but more predictable than a mid-engine. Sometimes mid-engines like the Lamborghini tend to kind of walk around on you, especially on corner entry, and makes the Mercedes a very comfortable car to get into. The Porsche being also kind of mid-engine-ish, even though technically they're supposed to be rear-engine. They're a lot more mid here in the GT3 setup. They're pretty solid. They've got great brakes on them. They're very, they're very direct of where you want to drive them. And the setups, though, definitely make a difference. And I think that's where someone like Evan Peichel's taking full advantage of the setup available to him and making his car just lightning quick around every racetrack, it seems. Also in the lead in his class, young Dean Dibdahl in a Porsche.
Driving like a scared cat, apparently.
Having fun with profile photos, are we?
Yes.
Yeah, Dean just out there cranking laps, even by himself, at least for the time being. It's got to be relaxing, considering having 25 cars or so around this track. It's pretty hectic at times when some of them aren't quite going the same speed, but Dean's found himself a little comfortable soft spot here in the track to be able to just turn some laps before he catches back up to perhaps some more TCR traffic.
All right, so we are still rather early on in this race now, only about a third of the way done here in a 90-minute race to the checkered flag here in the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge. And Larry, why don't we do this? Because we haven't quite hit the pit windows yet for our drivers here in either GT3 or in TCR. As we watch Evan Peichel here come onto the front straight. Probably that's Dean Dibdahl. Why don't we take a quick break, thank some of our sponsors, and when we come back, we should, hopefully within the next couple laps, start to see these cars show us what their pit strategies are here for the evening. So you are watching the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge, presented by Performa Texas Elite Graphics, and we'll be right back.
Ricmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts, support from experts that love sim racing, trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com. Ricmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
extreme scoring to do the work for you.
All right, and we are back here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Larry, I almost called it Carolina Motorsports Park again. Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, or Mosport, as we watch Dean Dibgall getting awfully loose coming out of the final corner. I'm Greg Ginsburg along with Larry Lefty McLeod, and we've got a 90-minute run to the checker. And, you know, Larry, we're barely into this baby here.
Yeah.
And, you know, we probably won't even see cars come in for their pit stops. First of one, maybe two pit stops, depending on their strategies, for at least another 5 laps or so.
Yeah, they are still motoring towards a lot of action, though. Consider we have only been 30 minutes into this thing, with a lot of cars already out, it seems. There's probably about 8 cars that appear to be permanently in the pits, which is unfortunate that we've had that much attrition so far, but that's part of the way the game is. A very tough track. It's a high speed, and the consequences are high, and if you happen to touch a wall, you probably didn't gently glide into it.
No.
But this guy has been gliding around here so fast, just to reset fastest lap at a 1:13.5. Like, damn, now into the 13s on his own laps. He's done a couple down there, but he hasn't done a 13.5. Evan Piper seems to be in another world.
Yeah, no, a completely another planet here. As Mike Dam fastest he's been able to get down to is a 13.6. But coming onto the pit lane here, John Casey. Now, we've seen Casey already in the pits once after a pretty big shunt. Let's see. I didn't get word of him going off track during our break.
This might be his stop again. If we're looking at fuel consumption causing 2 stops, this is a really good time to come in, get your first stop in, go full load of fuel, and then with maybe 15 minutes left in the race, come in for a splash and go.
Yeah, now, of course, if he decides to take tires with the GT3 cars, they do need to take fuel first, Larry, and then they can change the tires. So we'll see if that car pops up onto the air jacks. It does not appear to. And so John Casey, taking a load of fuel. He's back underway.
He's definitely had some damage at some point. That left front has definitely been impacted somewhere, but he's just going to roll with it.
Yeah, he had that early off, I think, over on the outside of Clayton Corner over at 2A.
Yeah. Seems to be okay. I mean, obviously he's had plenty of laps since then to test the car out. Going to stick with it. As that might have been Schwenke or Dam kind of rolling through there. It's Jennifer McDonald still in 4th in this race, 10 seconds now behind Schwenke, and now she's got
Rasputo no, that's Dean Dibdall. Yeah, I saw a black car. I thought it was Rasputo, but it's the Porsche, not the Mercedes. Dibdall now, again, your leader in GT3 AM, currently sitting 5th overall, having started 9th tonight. And he's making headwinds
he's
here.
Into a pretty good groove here, as we mentioned earlier. Kind of a lot of laps to himself, maybe kind of acting like a bit of practice, sort of get into the rhythm, get into a bit of a groove. He has been outpacing Jennifer McDonald now the last few laps to make this gap close on up. And again, this is not for class. This is leader in AM against 4th in pro. But position's position, and if you're Dean, you have an opportunity to go on by, you do it. Speaking of going on by, there goes Bobby around his teammate, that number 60, Chris Thorman.
Yeah, and Thorman's going to just try to lock in right behind and maybe get a little bit of a tow as they're coming up on some of our TCR traffic.
See which of the TCRs that was.
I think that was Horvath, if I remember correctly.
May
the color, yeah.
Bobby making his way down the Andretti straight here, trying to catch up with. Trying to see who that is in front of him, if that's Rissaputo or not.
That is the black Mercedes. Nope, it's black Porsche.
Gonna let him on by. That is Sterling.
Yeah, it's John Sterling, the 87 car.
To be confused with the old Yankees broadcaster, John Sterling. Somebody in our audience gets that reference.
I think you used the last one.
But Bobby, it looks like he's also getting in a bit of his groove as we flash through some of the field here in the TCR. Mike Polasek, your leader now, just kind of, again, sort of like what Dean Dibdall's doing, just out there by himself, 10-second gap to Eric Violet and the rest of the gang there in TCRs. Polasek really enjoying, I think, this series as he's coming into his own here in the Ricmotech series in TCR.
All right, and you can see there flashing up on the screen, Alex Brown, with that incident that we saw a little bit earlier, has been assessed a time penalty. So
not sure that's going to matter too much because I believe his car is one of those that's permanently damaged.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Polasek here was a round 2 winner at Fuji here in the TCR class. Did not compete in round 1, so he's kind of turning into a bit of dominant fashion. As you mentioned, he's in the Honda where all the rest of the guys have gone with the Hyundai, and we know that in the previous season in the sports car series, it was sort of the other way around, where everybody was moving towards the Hyundais and getting out of the Hondas, and maybe a little bit of balance and performance has shifted it back a little. And Polasek just might be into a groove with this car.
Yeah, and at this point, Polasek with almost a 10-second advantage over Eric Violet in the D2D E-Racing machine.
Yeah, he's still gaining about a half a second a lap on the rest of the field, so he's really motoring. And you can see there, you know, a couple of laps there, 26, 27, that Eric Violet was able to trim, but as soon as the clear track hits Polasek, he's able to just grab another couple of tenths out in front of him as he lets Steve Daniel go down the outside of him.
All right, coming down the pit lane right now, David Payton, driver of the number 64 D2D E-Racing machine.
The second time that one of our GT3 cars has come in voluntarily here to the pits before the halfway point. So as we had seen earlier, John Casey, now David Payton. So keeping an eye out on these guys to see how many of them come in and take fuel before the halfways, signaling that maybe they're not going to make the full race distance on just one stop.
Now that was interesting, Larry. As we were watching Peyton come down the pit lane, we still have Nate Thomas in his Lamborghini sitting on the pit lane, and there was just this huge puff of smoke that appeared to come out of the Lamborghini. That was either, you know, a couple of mechanics wrenching something the wrong way, or, you know, tried to get the engine fired up after 20 minutes of not running. I don't know what the story was there, but I've never seen that before in iRacing. As we jump back now, wow, Peichel having to take evasive action as Peyton was there directly ahead of him, just coming out of the pits, maybe with some cold tires. And
Peyton doing everything he can to stay out of the way, just sort of stuck to track right and let Peichel take to the left around it, and Peichel was managed to do that just well, but Michael being pretty precise, but still halfway sending it around, even around Moss. He's moving pretty quick, still running in the 14s at this stage of the race with a 6-second lead. But can he make it to the 45-minute mark? That's the question. If he can make it past the 44, by the time he come into the pits, fuel up, head back out, you might make it to the end, because they did have to do a one lap behind the safety car before the race started. Yeah. So we're at the 43-minute mark. If he can do one more lap, he might be able to make it to the end, and he is going to stay out. So maybe, just maybe, he can pull that off. Oh, that's not good.
No, Jennifer McDonald, hopefully we can see what happened here, but this might have been her second time around over at Moss.
Yep.
Yes. All right, and she comes up in the Moss, and again, the rear end steps out on her. Oh, in contact with the black Porsche. That was either, I guess that was either Dibdall. Let's see if can we get the number of that bus? That's the, yeah, I think that was Dean Dibdall, the number 19 car.
Ah.
And so that's the second time McDonald's gone around.
Well, she's definitely got some damage there from that one.
Yeah, and now that will move Dean Dibdall up into fourth position around Jennifer McDonald. But yeah, now she definitely has some damage there on the right front of the car.
Yeah. Yeah, so Dean now fourth overall, still first in AM, and probably about 13 seconds or so ahead of Bobby Childs. who's right now back to second spot there in the M category, as Evan Peichel just did a 13.2.
Oof. Well,
There's
you can
no
tell
fuel saving going on.
Yeah,
with
no
that
fuel
guy.
saving, but you can tell that car is now almost bone dry.
Yeah.
Throwing that in.
As we are seconds away from the halfway point. Now, again, the race will go checker when the leader is, within a lap of seeing the finish. So the race could go 46 minutes. They're talking 91 minutes.
Travis Schwenke pits in from third position, and Dean Dibdahl, our leader in AM, pits in from fourth.
I suspect the pits are about to get really busy.
Very busy. Yeah, absolutely. Here, as McDonald continues on, as does Royce Puto. As we mentioned, Evan Peichel still out on track. We'll see if he comes in this next time by. Mike Dam also out on track. Andrew Parente in TCR brings his car down the pit lane as well, and we're getting fairly close to the end of the pit window. It's actually about probably another 4 or 5 minutes for the TCR cars before they would need to come in as well. And we can see Parente taking some tires now, as we have Steve Daniel pitting in from third in AM. And there we go, Mike Dam comes down the pit lane while Evan Peichel stays out on track for another lap. Larry.
Yeah, I don't know where he's getting this fuel from. A little bit of Smokey Eunuch refueling going on with it. Maybe perhaps his car's got a little extra fuel up and through the roll cage or something. But if he's been saving fuel all this time, perhaps maybe that's why he was only running 13.8s earlier. Now he's down, unleashed it doing 13.2s. As the rest of the field now seems to be coming in for their fuel stop.
Yeah, Jennifer McDonald coming down, Resputo coming into the pit lane as well, pitting in from third and fourth in pro respectively.
But we'll see Schwenke now moving up as everyone else starts to come in for their stops, and we'll see if Evan Peichel, race leader, comes in this time by. Yes, it looks like he is. Yeah,
he's hanging tight there, and he is on the pit lane, and very quick on the pit lane and hard on the binders, coming in behind one of our TCR cars, coming in right behind Nick Horvath, or probably Brad Husty.
Long road down to the front of the pit lane for our pole sitter to get to his pit stop box.
Although not the longest pit lane, Larry. The transit time fairly short here compared to some of the other facilities that we're at this season.
Definitely is. Yeah, you compare that to something like the Road America, or one of those. Or even Road Atlanta is a little longer than this. But if you're in that first pit box, it just seems like forever looking for your flag man.
All right, Jose Cabrera brings his car down the pit lane. Mike Polachek, our leader in TCR, now on the pit lane as well. And I think right now the last driver, well, I was just going to say the last driver in TCR, not the pit, Eric Violet, but Violet coming down the pit lane also as our overall leader. Evan Peichel now rejoins the fray, and he rejoins in the lead ahead of Mike Dam, Larry, by almost 15 seconds.
Yeah, again, amazing turn that Peichel can get in and get out there and continue to grow that lead. He really is kind of the master of all things in these races right now. He's just becoming untouchable as Bobby Childs finally comes in for his fuel stop, having briefly led the AM category there. That should hand that back over to...
well, we'll see here. It should be Dean Dibdahl. Well, Dibdahl was your leader prior to the pit stops.
Assuming that Steve Daniel does come in for his on the next time by, that should eventually hand it back.
And there you go, Dean Dibdahl now back up into the lead of GT3 AM.
Yep. And interestingly, Dibdahl comes out behind Ricmotech and McDonald. He was ahead of both of them before the stop. His stop was unusually long. Wondering if he took tires.
It's definitely possible.
About 13 seconds longer than everybody else.
As we were just watching Dibdahl trying to slice through some of the D2D TCR traffic, and didn't have much of a place to go.
As Ricmotech again battling with Jennifer McDonald here on that back straight. See if he can get alongside and push her to the unfavorable side of the track. She looks pretty solid there, despite that damage on the front of the car.
Yeah, you know, but given her challenges and troubles over at Moss the last during her first stint, I'm wondering if Ricmotech can do anything to maybe influence her line up there. So and we have going off right now the number 89 machine, Eric Violet, and that's over by the S's down towards the last couple of corners there. I was wondering, you know, we don't see anybody ahead of him coming onto the front straight, but a very odd place to go off there, Larry.
It is. You know, I would have thought maybe if he had cold tires, something like that would happen, but it does look like he didn't take any tires, shouldn't have any cold tires to deal with unless he took, you know, just fronts or something like that, but I doubt it. Might have just got him caught out. We didn't see any other cars in the area for traffic. It's just one of those things that happens. Is again, Ricmotech now trying to get a run, trying to stick in the draft of that extra large BMW, and I don't know that Mercedes has the legs to make the pass, but again, if he could just stick his nose up along the rear bumper
and do something like that and force her
without
to
catching
one side.
TCRs 2x2. Oh, this ought to be maybe use the same thing. Yeah, try and do what exactly Travis Schwenke did to Jennifer earlier, and he's going to.
Yeah, he's going to come right underneath her.
Yep.
Well, I was just going to say, and split the two TCR cars, but hasn't been able to do it yet. And now he's, wow, he was almost trapped in there between the two TCR cars with nowhere to go. And now Jennifer McDonald finds herself in exactly that spot with Ricmotech trying to figure out a way through as they come up on the, I guess that was, is that Jenkins?
It might be in the Ferrari. Yeah, it might be. Just a crazy turn of events there. Yeah. As Jennifer struggling terribly to get through some of the TCR traffic, and in the middle of that, it looked like the 42 of Brandon Whitworth was doing everything he can just to survive and avoid another incident, as he was saying, come on, guys, just let me finish my race.
Yeah, the D2D guys in the TCR cars have not had the
rough night.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a challenge for them this evening.
But Jennifer able to finally get on through, but not before handing quite a bit of a gap now, 2 seconds plus to Ricmotech, who she led going into that previous lap. So rough go there as Nick Horvath now up to 4th in the TCRs. He's got about 8 seconds down, though, to Brad Husty, here, who's sitting in 3rd in the TCR. So he's going to need some help if he wants to close that gap. And right now, he's probably more mirror driving than anything else. I think that's John Casey going outside of him around 3.
Oof.
Right along the edge.
Yeah, very much on the edge.
It's kind of how this track is driven. You know, we've talked about how fast it is, but really the fast way around here is to constantly be on the frightening edge. That inside curbing coming down towards the Moss hairpin is always tough. And here you go. There's Horvath running wide at the Moss hairpin, just trying to stay out of the way of the 64
of Peyton.
And yeah, but everywhere else too, you want to use all the curve right into the grass edge, and then you get the bumps thrown in where you're trying to get on the power. This place is all kinds of treacherous to make a fast lap around here. So if you're trying to stay out of somebody's way, you end up putting yourself right up along that edge while you're watching the mirrors. I think we've seen some of that tonight. Horvath, one of our lead paw racing drivers in the field, as the leader is still just motoring along. Mike Polisek doing everything he can to keep his nose clean out here and keep that gap that he has currently over.
Yeah, and and Larry, this is exactly what he did at Fuji.
Yeah, just get to the lead and just pick your battles at this point.
Yeah, and just checked out.
Yeah. Solid pit stop for him. Wasn't the fastest in the field, but he's managed to do very good laps consistently and to try and stay clean. So when a car comes up alongside him, like Steve Daniel, he's smart enough to get a good exit, a little bit of a lift in the straightaway, let the GT3 go on by, and then have a nice clean corner or two until the next one comes along.
Yeah, and if we take a look at this, Larry, I'm just looking at the lap times that Polisek has put in comparison to, say, a Violet or a Husty, And you know, it's not wildly faster. Yes, his fastest lap is about 0.2 faster than Violet. Quite a bit faster, about half a second faster than Husty, but you can only imagine that, especially with all of the traffic coming through, it's been very difficult to run consistent lap times. Yeah. That perhaps the advantage that Polacek has had, because he did, you know, put in those 2 monster laps at the start of the race and really separate himself out from the rest of the TCR traffic, that he hasn't been slowed down as much by the GT3 cars, primarily because he hasn't been in a pack with other TCR cars. They haven't been, you know, that he hasn't really had to deal with any kind of real track congestion that the rest of the field has, and so he's had really just much more consistent lap times than the other drivers.
Yeah, there's something to be said about that. By avoiding the battles, you know, actually leads to more consistent lap times, because you're not stuck alongside another TCR when a third car enters the fray and somehow both TCRs have to let them by. It tends to really slow you down. Now having 3 cars trying to occupy the one spot. Polacek been really good about just keeping his nose clean and keeping the air around him clean.
Yeah.
You watch here is might be Jeff Jacobs perhaps coming up along it. It looks like it is.
That is with the wagon wheel on the door. It is Jeff Jacobs.
And look at that. You could just see Polacek just, you know, comfortably move to the outside, let Jacobs go to the inside, and on he goes.
Maybe half a car width, doesn't doesn't deviate that much from his normal line.
And part of that, being the slower class, to me the secret is to be predictable.
Yeah.
We had seen earlier where the trailing car maybe was less predictable to the TCR than he could have been. You want both drivers have to communicate somehow. And yeah, you can get on the team chats in here, I'm sure, and say, hey, I'll take you on your left, no, go right, whatever. But just in physical car demeanor, you can put the car to the left if you want to go left and carry through on that when you make your pass. Same thing if you're the car being passed. Be deliberate, park your car in the spot you want to take, let the other car go around you. It's a great way to communicate. As I'm sure you've even done that in, you know, real life, real world racing when you're out there. Yeah, exactly. If you're in the ITC car or something like that, and something faster wants to go around you, you know how to use your car language to let them on by.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I drove a 12-hour race at an ITC Honda CRX with Porsche 911s out there and everything that ran, you know, 20-30 seconds a lap faster. And at the end of the race, I just had I had to get a cortisone shot for my right shoulder because I had my right arm pointing by for like 12 hours, well, not 12 hours straight, but like on a 3-hour stint almost every single lap.
Your point buys were on point.
Yes.
But hey, that's what you got to do. But I'm sure that if you have an opportunity to exit of a corner, you deliberately take your line, make sure that the passing car knows which side you're going to take, and it makes it easier for them. And there's
absolutely. And and that's the thing. And I'll tell you, when I watch drivers here in iRacing do virtual racing, and perhaps they don't have the real life racing experience, where you teach racers to stay online, to be predictable. And the first thing you see in virtual racing, and the way I know that somebody hasn't been on a real racetrack, is when they will pull offline to let somebody by.
Yeah.
and that's as the overtaking car, that's the scariest thing I think that you can have happen, because you're planning to yourself go offline, and then you find that other car basically meeting you.
Yeah, you'd rather have them go online,
right,
and then somewhere in the middle of the straightaway, just a little lift, let the car go by, let him get to his braking zone, rather than racing them to the next braking zone and expecting them to try and make a pass on you. It's a lot more difficult that way. But if you just take the normal driving line, much safer, much easier for the passing car to do their thing. So Jose Cabrera having a decent night here, running in 5th here in the M category. He's trying to catch up to David Payton.
He's getting there. You can see Payton just in the shot as Payton had just gotten around his teammate there, Eric Violet, in the D2D racing Hyundai. But yes, starting to close up a little bit of ground there. Now picks up as they come onto the Andretti straight, knocked off about 0.3 of a second.
Yep.
And he's got the draft there that he can use.
He's kind of limping along, so Casey's trying to just stay out of the way and let Cabrera take his business up ahead.
Yeah, and Casey did the job for him, acted as a little bit of a bridge, was able to provide a brief draft for Cabrera, and Cabrera now within 0.75 of a second, so he's knocked off a ton of time from Moss hairpin up to here on the front straight. Oof. There's Nick Horvath. His problems continue tonight coming out of Moss.
As he's been trying to chase down Brad Husty, but having those offset Moss is probably not going to help his cause.
No, and at this point, almost 17 seconds in a rear, 17 seconds off the final step of the podium right now. So we'll jump back to this battle between Jose Cabrera and just ahead now, David Payton. Now, Payton is one of our pro category drivers, currently running 7th in pro, Cabrera 5th. But, again, to move up in, that would put him just outside the top 10 here tonight in a rather large GT3 field.
Yeah, it's that part of the race where certainly if you are the leader in AM, you're trying to keep your nose clean and stay away from maybe the leaders if they come on by in pro. But if you're in the middle of the pack of both, at this point, you see a car in front of you, you want to make a pass. And so I don't think Cabrera's going to be thinking much whether or not David Payton is a pro class or an AM class. He's going to race him, and he'll get along side by side here if he can and take it to him.
All right, so quickly here, as we've just now passed the 1 hour mark here from CTMP, why don't we quickly reset the field? Your leader in TCR, Mike Polachek, in his Honda Civic Type R. Eric Violet currently running in second, almost 20 seconds in arrears. Brad Husty, another 27 seconds back from there. So the TCR field really stretched out another 17 back to Nick Horvath. If we go and take a look at GT3 AM, Dean Dibdahl is your leader in the number 19 Porsche. Running second is Bobby Childs. Childs is about 18 seconds off of Dibdahl. Steve Daniel currently running in third in AM. He's about 28 seconds, almost 30 seconds off the lead. Jeff Jacobs is fourth. And if we take a look at GT3 Pro, Evan Peichel is your leader in the Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing Porsche 911. Mike Dam currently running in second, and I believe he is right now about 6 seconds in arrears of our leader, Travis Schwenke, currently sitting third. Nick Resputo fourth. Jennifer McDonald, now having given up fourth position to Resputo, sits in fifth.
Dean having a pretty solid race here, just kind of on his own.
Yeah, so, looking at it and looking at him, and I think he's done a very good job of managing the race car, because the back end of that car looks awfully loose, Larry. I mean, we've just been seeing the back end step out at almost every corner, but he does seem to do a decent job catching it.
Perhaps you see a little bit of tire wear on that car, though he did a longer pit stop, and I thought perhaps he had taken tires in his stop, but that's just the way he likes his race cars.
Yeah. I mean, the car looks great coming through Moss and some of the slower corners, but the higher speed stuff, it looks a little loose. But he's doing a good job of pitch and catch there. All right, looks like another driver getting a time penalty at the end of the race. That is the 68 machine.
You were talking about the loose car, as he's going to put it reverse and put it right into the exit road there without making contact anywhere around the last corner on the track. Wow, what a way to keep it off the wall.
And not only that, but he manages to hold on to the lead in GT3 AM, even with that spin.
Yeah, well, Bobby now within 10 seconds of him, so another one of those for Dean, and it could cost him the lead. That might have been his wake-up call to say, I got 25 more minutes, and here he is. So, as you were talking about, the car a little loose, coming into the S's, comes in here to the second last corner, pitches it,
and there you
goes
go.
Around. Look at this, throws it in reverse, and backs it into the exit road. Great awareness.
Yeah, very amazing, and a great recovery. And you know, knowing which cars were coming up, seeing all the relative, how many cars were coming up, he did a great job of rejoining as quickly as possible.
Yeah. I'm sure, Rich, if he does that in this spec Miata, I'm sure he'd find reverse without grinding gears and be able to back it out of there without ruining a transmission on you. But Dean able to do that very easily with the paddle shifts here in his GT3 race car, but in your real life car with your H pattern, you might just you know, grind a few synchros.
Yes, Brennan, it wouldn't be me if I wasn't driving a CRX. All right.
Are we reading comments, are we?
Yes, I am. There are many in the stable with different levels of power. All of them, you know, multiples of one hamster. All right. as we check in on Dean Dibdahl right now, and he's got a good amount of traffic up ahead of him. Wow, even there you can see a little bit of a twitch from the car, Larry.
And just a bit, you can see him. He's just throwing that car around, and maybe that's the setup he likes. He's right up to that crazy edge of the grass at the edge of the track there. His lead over Bobby now down under 9 seconds. So it's a lot of time left in this race. We're still talking 25 more minutes before we see the white flag. So really put that car around there at Moss, though.
Yeah, I was. That's the one place. The slower corners. It's the one place that the car looks happy and it just digs out of the corner, really well.
It drives like a Porsche, you know. Just swing the weight, plant the back end. The problem is it starts swinging that pendulum when you come up here to these high speed S's here.
Well,
at 7, 8, 9.
He does it again. Back to the scene of the crime.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Almost.
See it right there.
Little twitch, gentle. Look at the hands moving. Get the pendulum swinging and swaying, and now plant the back end, and off you go. And now he finds himself on the heels of, I believe that's Cabrera.
That is the 18 machine just ahead of him. Jose Cabrera.
A lap between them. While Dean continues to stay on the lead lap of the leaders there, Cabrera now a lap down.
Lap down. Next in line is the D2D iRacing Lamborghini. Now, is that Peyton, or I assume that is Peyton because I think we still have.
It is the 64.
Yeah, it's a 64 machine of Peyton, who is currently running.
He's 7th in pro.
Yeah, 7th in pro, 11th
overall. And he might just be about to let the leader in the AM go on by, as there goes Dean to the outside. I don't think he wants to let Cabrera by as much as he was willing to let Dean go by, though.
No.
Even though, again, they're not exactly racing for, class position, but they are racing for overall position now between Peyton and Cabrera, just the car length between them. They're all trying to say, wait a second, let's follow Dean's lines. He seems to be fast. Two Italian sports cars here just going at it here between Cabrera and Peyton. The Ferrari and the Lamborghini, the classic rivalry. Who gets a better run off of 3? Peyton pretty good off of there, actually.
Yeah, he is.
Underneath the Conti Bridge and head down towards Mossy, who's got more precision under braking. A lot more risky line there for Peyton coming in. Cabrera taking the more gentle, conservative line.
But as he does, you can see he loses a little bit of ground coming out onto.
You can see he was more track center when he hit the brakes and turned in for the first apex at Moss, whereas Peyton took that wide entry and really flung it in there, which can be very rewarding because you can get just the right arc to be able to come out of there on power. But if you just catch dirt deep, as we've seen a couple of times some folks do, you lose all of that track position.
Yeah, around you go.
Cabrera pretty good, though, through the S's.
It's neat to see here, though, that as Dibdahl has lapped these drivers, even with the spin, being able to lap drivers in his own class. Oh, as it looks like Peyton has gone around, or maybe not gone around, but he lost the rear end of the car. Might have had some slight contact with the wall there. Oh, yeah, he's got an issue now, Larry.
Twitch. Yeah, he's going to full on John Deere drift coming off the outside of 3 there.
Somebody tell him the greens, and I think he's done.
He may
Larry.
have had some damage, and he's going to call it quits. That's unfortunate. A good little battle going on there with Cabrera, and so he's going to end up parking it, or at least parking it on the side of the track.
Yeah. Hey, John, is it possible that we can go back and see what might have precipitated that with the 64 machine?
Right as he decided to pull it in. Here we go. On board here with Peyton as he comes up into 2. Catches the grass the inside. That's okay. Oh, but he waited, gone back to the gas a little aggressively, and that's that. Tell you, that's how the Lamborghini bites me every time I drive it. That back end just decides when it wants to come out.
It's going to go, and doesn't give you much notice.
You don't have any say in when it goes. It just goes. And if you think you can then recover by hitting the gas, traction control often kicks in, and the back end says, "Oh, no, I'm not going to go anywhere," and then it swings the other way.
Ugh.
It's one of the challenges to these cars, and making them fast is when does that traction control come in and when does it not, and how much restriction does it put on you, and when can you use it to your advantage, and when does it cut out on you, and suddenly you end up swapping ends in a Lamborghini, like we just saw.
All right, so we've got 20 minutes remaining now here from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park Mosport, and we're back on board with Evan Peichel, our leader from Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing, who has now stretched his advantage over Mike Dam to 20 seconds. And here we go, Larry, after
another DCE car having struggles. Yeah. We just saw Peyton, now it's Thorman.
Yeah, and Thorman had spent an extended period of time in the pit lane getting repairs early on in this race. Let's take a look here.
There's the turn in, turns in, little hot, little bobble. Seemed okay, stayed on pavement, but like his brethren have done, a little bit loose there around mid corner. Didn't catch the dirt this time. He just caught that bit of a dip that you find in the second half of the corner. We've seen a few of those. Bobby Childs was the first of the team to do it tonight, and it seems a few others have followed suit.
Yeah. I don't want to jinx it in case we have a couple. Well, I would say that I think all we have left are the TCR guys, and they've had their issues tonight as well.
Yeah, they don't need any commentator curse help tonight.
No, I didn't say a word. Didn't say a thing.
Thorman seems to have recovered well.
You know, I'm still trying to figure out what the story was with Peyton, because it didn't look like he impacted the wall when he had had the rear end come around the first time. But you know, there was just that little extra snap, and obviously now he's on the pit lane. Yeah. So something must have gone, and maybe he did have just a slight little rub of the wall, but just didn't seem like it would have been enough to cause the damage that we saw.
Yeah, he may not have taken too much. It just kicks the toe out of alignment or whatever the damage model says it was doing. It was enough where he said, you know what, this high-speed track probably needs a square car, and the car is no longer square. It's just time to pack it in.
Yeah.
Thorman running in 6th in the pro class, 8th overall.
Yeah, and I think the only driver, let's see here, I think the only driver remaining on the lead lap, well, I'm only seeing at this point, well, Schwenke's almost a minute back. I'm trying to figure out how many drivers are actually on the lead lap still, and it's not many.
No, it might be the top five. Or
possibly Childs as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not many, as Evan Peichel's really been laying it down to the whole field tonight, not just the pro cars, not just the Hams and the TCRs. It just victims abound with the pace of Evan Peichel tonight. And Eric Violette's had a pretty quiet night, you know, considering he is down 24 seconds to Mike Polisak, but you know, Eric just kind of doing his thing here. Surviving, I guess, tonight to try and collect some points might be about the best way to describe it.
Yeah, I mean, he's had his moments here as well tonight. Yeah. I mean, he hasn't run an incredibly clean race as we jump over to his teammate Brandon Whitworth.
As incidental as his teammate Whitworth tonight. Whitworth, hopefully that time was just for fuel.
Yeah, and given they are at the about the, what are we at, about 50 laps, give or take. Yeah, I believe it probably just for fuel.
Yeah, probably so. And considering the amount of time he spent in the pits, probably didn't need to take a whole load of fuel. But he comes out there right in the middle of a couple of GT3 cars. I think even one of his teammates, Whitworth, Violet, and all, they were sort of close to each other there on the track. There they are. Steve Daniel currently running third in the AM category.
And we just saw Casey, who's a lap down from there, trying to stay out of everybody's way.
It seems to be the theme tonight. At this stage, it's, you know, if you've survived the first 75 minutes, now it's just a matter of stay out of everyone's way and let's make sure you got 15 more minutes in you. And for Steve Daniel, making his way up here, you know, 7 positions from where he started. I think within class, it's certainly up a few positions to now sitting third here at this stage of the race in the AM category. Yeah, I think he had started somewhere around 6th in class, so pretty good consistency to be moving up there for him. And we know that in the points, he's always one of the ones who's in the mix based on season consistency, having won the last round at Fuji and been on the podium at the first round at Road Atlanta. So consistency always pays off for Steve Daniel.
Indeed. Here we go as we jump back over now. Going back to the frenetic pace of Travis Schwenke trying to catch up to his teammate Mike Dam, who's 30 seconds up the road, as Schwenke now has to navigate those multiple D2D e-racing Hyundai Elantras. Gets by.
And
Well,
John
it was
Casey
John
off
Casey.
again,
Yeah.
Oh, man, having a rough night for him.
Yeah, and you know, and he had finished on the podium a couple. I think it was at round 1 that he had finished on the podium in AM. So, you know, certainly not a very disappointing evening, I'm sure, for him this evening, as he's really started to find his pace.
Yeah, Schwenke here though comes into tonight 4th in points, having been on the podium at the first round of Road Atlanta, a little lower there in the order there at Fuji a couple weeks back. But trying to chase down 3 points back from Jennifer McDonald, who he's got a couple of spots ahead of now. So he's trying to see if maybe he can catch a third spot in the points after this round. We'll see, because right now the first 2 are pretty far up there, obviously, with Evan Peichel with 2 wins already in the books and a pretty good result going tonight. Mike Dam with 2 seconds on the books, and you know, still a pretty far up the road there from Travis. So Travis trying to salvage what he can, stay up here on this podium tonight, might have himself a chance to snag that 3rd spot in the point standings after 3 rounds. And again, like we talked about there with Steve Daniel, consistency even in the pro ranks does pay off. If you can lay down a lot of podiums throughout the season, you got a shot to be up into that top 3 at the end of the season, and Travis would like to be there. It's a very tough, deep class here.
Yeah, we've seen that. You know, again, a lot of them a lot of that deep class has found themselves deep in the pit lane, but yeah, when you're looking at fields that are 10, 15 cars deep in each one of the categories of both in AM and in pro, you know, it's very difficult to move yourself up. I think we talked about this last round, Larry, as we were looking at their iRatings and you know how many thousands of points these drivers have. That they've just been at it for years and years. We've got a few, you know, although they may be rookies to the series, they in most cases have a number of years of virtual racing under their belts, and you know, it's very difficult. I mean, the challenge, you know,
we've got a lot of accidents going on. That's Jacobs into the back.
Jacobs goes around.
Was that Husky?
That is John Sterling. Nick Horvath was involved with that in the TCR car.
Oh,
wow.
Big pile up there. Not sure what was
in the
going
black
on.
Porsche.
They're all just trying to get out of the way now as Horvath straightening up and trying to get a run back onto the track.
And I was just going to say, Larry, that the big challenge, and wow.
He's missing his trunk.
Yeah, it's part of the truck there. You know, that probably the biggest X factor here is the multi-class racing now here in this. Let's see if, John, if we can see exactly what happened here. As Horvath was up near our leader in TCR.
Oh, no, and he caught some grass at the exit of 2.
And got Sterling. And then coming in. Oh.
And poor Jeff Jacobs, again, nowhere to go. And Schwenke just says, boy, I dodged a bullet there. He sneaks on through.
And meanwhile, the driver who really dodged the bullet was our TCR leader, Mike Polachek, who was there side by side with Horvath. And as Horvath came across the track, Polachek was only maybe a half to 3/4 of a car length ahead and just somehow managed to avoid that number 82 machine.
I do like the new floating wing on the back of Nick Horvath's car. There's no trunk to hold the uprights up anymore.
Oh my gosh.
It's a feature. The damage models are so good, but not always perfect.
Not always.
As both those drivers who were involved in the incident made their way back to the pit in, unfortunately, with some damage to repair. So we flash back out to Ricmotech now trying to stay out of the way of race leader Evan Peichel. Coming around the Moss hairpin.
Yes, so now we know, Larry, how many drivers are still on the lead lap.
Yeah, it's going to be 3 here in a second.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
I was going to say, if Ricmotech is going to actually give him deference and let him by there for a moment, didn't look as though that was going to be the case, but Ricmotech goes and puts the car all the way driver's left on the last third of the straightaway, and Peichel gets through. But Jennifer McDonald starting to close up some ground.
That's a BMW behind the Mercedes in the form of a number 99. BTL Motorsports, Jennifer McDonald, has closed that gap. You know, we know she had the pace. We know she qualified 3rd on the grid. Had some issues here and there at various stages of the race, but she might be on the prowl to try and get that 3rd spot back. The 4th spot back, because again, as I mentioned, she's in a points battle with current 3rd place holder Travis Schwenke. So if Jennifer can get to the 4th spot, she might be able to hang on to 3rd in points. So this does mean a lot to her at this stage of the race.
And we have less than 10 minutes remaining, Larry. Actually, now only 8 minutes remaining here from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park as Evan Peichel, lead car in that whole group, just gets by our TCR leader. But Peichel, your leader, Mike Dam, now almost looks like about 28 seconds in arrears. Travis Schwenke running in 3rd. That is currently your podium in pro with Nick Ricmotech and Jennifer McDonald, which is the battle that we're watching right now here. Dean Dibdahl is your leader in AM, with Bobby Childs running in 2nd, Steve Daniel 3rd, and Mike Polachek in the Honda Civic Type R, your TCR leader. Oh, here we go.
Jennifer would love to do to Ricmotech what Ricmotech and Travis Schwenke both did to her, which is to use some TCR traffic as a pick and try to make her way around. Jennifer struggled at times tonight with that TCR traffic. She would love to throw that back at Ricmotech at some point here in the next 8 minutes. She's definitely got pace on him, it seems, but we know how difficult it is to pass here at Mosport. She's going to probably need some help. There's a little bit of a wrinkle at the front on both of those cars, and neither one of these two have been able to keep the noses clean tonight.
Well, we know with McDonald that that damage there was likely when she went around over at Moss, and Dean Dibdahl couldn't avoid her. She was dead stick in the middle of the pavement, but she is now right on the rear end there. It looks like Jeff Jacobs may have had an issue.
I'm watching this here, though. Watch Ricmotech take a harsh defensive line, staying track right there. Maybe even trying, there's a little bit of draft breakage sort of swaying there down the straightaway, but he's got the lead on her going into these S's 9 and 10. Yep, and just barely. She's filling his mirrors right now. There's enough laps to maybe have an opportunity, if she can't get it done on her own, to maybe use some of that TCR traffic, because they're going to come up on some in the next lap or so.
Yeah, and she appears to be opening these corners up just a little bit more than Ricmotech is at the moment. And here she goes. She makes a little move to the outside as they head down the hill and head over
not buying it, though.
No,
he's not buying it. She thought maybe she could force him to a bad line through 2. He didn't take the bait. See if she can get a run off of 3. She's got that back end digging in. There's that TCR car. She would love to see that.
Yeah, but they may not get to that car till after they get through Moss. Let's take a look.
Oh,
Well, no, maybe
perfect for Jennifer.
Oh.
Now she can use it.
under braking, and can she sneak underneath? No, but definitely Rasputo getting balked just a little bit coming through the hairpin.
And this is going to give her an opportunity. And look at almost a block. It's a single move. He moves back a little bit. It might be a little bit of blocking, but we're going to let it go for now. But look at it. She's going to try and get alongside him and perhaps, maybe, go side by side through the S's and be on the inside at 9.
And she gets out of it.
Just a bit. Trying to force the issue. Mirror contact. She's trying to force him to a bad line. He is definitely driving in his mirrors, though.
Yes, and you can see there as he went into 10, almost mid-track. He couldn't have gotten a great exit through there, but I don't think McDonald's going to be in a good position to take advantage of it here. She may have to wait till they get back to Moss.
She may not be too happy about this either, because that Mercedes is doing Jeff Jacobs things and making it as wide as possible. Is Rasputo. Jennifer trying everything. She is totally throwing the kitchen sink at this right now. She's taking very good lines to set up passes, but that Mercedes is just extra wide. We'll see if she can get a better line down in and out of the Moss hairpin coming up down the next hill.
Yeah, and even with the great run that she got out of Moss the last time by, to only be able to pull up about 3/4 of the way up the side of the Mercedes there, I mean, it's...
Well, part of that could have been Rasputo taking that defensive line down the straightaway next to the TCR car. And you can see him here kind of doing a little bit of weaving. Not the greatest line. Not that she's next to him. But if she can force the issue, and if she can stick it out there, not this time.
Yeah, I mean, every time they get into turn 8 there, Larry, that kind of sweeping right-hander, she just ends up
She's going to try and stick the nose down here to force a bad line. Use track position. Drag race down to 1. Can she make it stick into 1? If she can, she's got it.
Well, she's got the position, Larry. I thought she might have gone in. Yeah, there she is. She takes the position away to move Jennifer McDonald now up in the 4th. I thought as she really went and turned in and really threw away a lot of exit speed coming through turn 10 onto the front straight, that she didn't stand much of a chance.
I think she just caught Rasputo by surprise, and he had nowhere to go because she really took that in. It's the first time Rasputo didn't take a defensive line in a corner in the last 3 laps, and she saw it open up. She dove in to take the position away, and neither one of them had a good run, but now she had position for 1. Beautiful move. Now if she can keep her speed up, and look how much better run she gets off of Moss than does Rasputo. That's great driving for Jennifer in these last couple laps. Great move.
All right, and we are getting word John has been digging through this during the race. Apparently we do have Jeff Jacobs categorized in pro now, so we're going to try and switch things up in our timing system so we can show him in the right category.
Yep, as we had seen, he's actually in the points listed in pro, so we'll make sure he's considered over there, and he'll be right on par with these two.
Yeah.
And now Rasputo doing everything he can to keep up, even runs a little bit wide there at the last corner, giving a bigger advantage. As there is Mr. Jacobs coming out of the pits now for the several times. At least he should be now good to go to the end of the race, and maybe deciding the car is not good enough. Yeah, there may have been a little bit of damage involved there.
All right, so we've got 2 minutes remaining on the clock here, Larry. So maybe we need to pick up where our leader is.
Yep. So one thing to note is a lap ago, not this most recent, but the one before, Evan Peichel turned again the fastest lap of the race, a 1:13.210, which is ridiculous on lap 70 of the race, or lap 69 of this race, to still be out there laying down flying fast laps. He is just putting on a clinic.
Yeah, almost 0.4 of a second faster than the fastest Mike Dam has been able to lay down, as Peichel now comes onto the front straight with a little bit under a minute and a half to go, about 1:20 remaining. So Larry, I think we're going to have this and perhaps one more lap after here from Peichel. We'll have to see how the clock plays out if he decides to sit back in traffic.
We didn't get a white flag this time, so I do suspect we're going to see 2 more. And can he lay down a fastest lap again on lap 71 or 72? He's just been so quick. He just almost like he owns the place. He's going to be applying for Canadian citizenship at the end of the night.
That's right.
The way he runs around this place, like he totally owns the track.
They're going to give him a toque and call him one of their own.
He has been just unbeatable tonight as he's
Yes.
on the back of Travis Schwenke, who's currently running third, about to get lapped.
Lapped by the leader. That's amazing.
And Mike Dam is 40 seconds back from Evan Peichel. That's 2/3 of a lap around here. It just shows you, I mean, Mike Dam has been all-world in every series we've run here in the Ricmotech series, and yet Evan is just making everybody look like they're playing a different game.
Yeah. All right, so Evan Peichel now comes onto the front straight, second car of 2 here, and you can now see the white flag in the air, not for Travis Schwenke, but for Evan Peichel.
I think
here.
Travis
So
Schwenke's waving the white flag, saying, I give up. This guy's lapping me.
Surrender.
And he's not going to change his line, is Travis. Maybe he's just, ego kicking in here. So if I'm going to battle him here, but he will yield at some point when it's a safe spot to yield.
Yeah.
It's just tough even to yield around this track, to be honest. See if he lifts a little bit here, coming down towards the Continental Bridge. Well, maybe not. Maybe they'll just wait till they get to the back straight. For Travis, if he's got anywhere near light on fuel, a little lift here would save him a lap.
Yes. And you saw there, even going into the hairpin, Peichel, I'm sure, not looking to give Travis Schwenke the chrome horn, but you could see how much more speed he carried into Moss that he almost came right up into the rear bumper of that Mercedes.
He's racing him.
Well, if Peichel, I mean, if Schwenke stayed ahead, he could get one additional lap, but it looks like now, it's a little bit of a bobble from Peichel as he gets on Travis Schwenke, but he comes onto the front straight, and the Geodesic Racing Alpine Stars Porsche driver will take the win here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park at Mosport for round number 3 of the Ricmotech this is the Ricmotech World Challenge presented by Performa Texas Elite Graphics. I forgot where we were. All right, there you go. Coming home in second.
I'm starting to wonder if Peichel might be out of fuel as Schwenke was starting to push him around, but we're now waiting for second place to come and take the checker. Yeah,
here we go. As Mike Dam comes through the S's, only 2 more corners remaining. And as he comes onto the front straight,
on the right front of his car. No one able to get by scot-free here.
And he's out of the throttle right now. I think Mike Dam might have just run out of gas or gotten pretty close to it. But Mike Dam will come home in second. And you can see there he was about 5 seconds off of his normal pace on that last lap. Mike Dam comes home in second. Travis Schwenke finishes third in Pro. McDonald and Risputo round out the top 5 in GT3 Pro. Dean Dibdahl takes the checkered flag. He wins in GT3, and Bobby Childs will come home. I think we'll come home in second, and then finishing third in AM is Steve Daniel, or did we say that Dan? Yeah.
Yep.
That's right. I'm thinking of yes. Steve Daniel comes home in third. All right, so let's take a look now at our TCR class where Mike Polachek takes another win here in TCR, this time in a Honda Civic Type R. Eric Violet will finish in second. Brad Husty comes home in third. And so, before I botch it one more time, let's do this, Larry. Let's take a quick break. We'll thank some of our sponsors, and when we come back, we'll talk to some of our podium finishers here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, where you have just seen 90 minutes of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge presented by Performa Texas Elite Graphics, and we'll be right back.
Extreme scoring to do the work for you.
Ricmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
All right, and we're back here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, where you've just seen 90 minutes of road racing action in the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge. I'm Greg Ginsberg, along with Larry Lefty McLeod. Let's, John, why don't we go? We'll throw up the finishing order there, and take a look one more time as Evan Peichel takes the win here in GT3 Pro. Mike Dam finishing in second. Travis Schwenke coming home in third. Jennifer McDonald and Nick Resputo finished just off the podium. In GT3 AM, Dean Dibdahl takes the win. Bobby Childs comes home in second. Steve Daniel finishes third, with Jose Cabrera and John Sterling finishing just off the podium. And then finally in TCR, Mike Polachek takes the win. Eric Violet finishes second. Brad Husty rounds out the podium, finishing in third. Nick Horvath and Brandon Whitworth round out the top 5 in TCR. So let's do this, Larry. We've got now 2 folks sitting in the green room. Why don't we bring in Eric Violet tonight? He had a pretty adventurous evening in his D2D E-Racing Hyundai Elantra. He finished second tonight in TCR. Let's bring him on in now.
All right, Eric Violet, second in TCR tonight. And I tell you what, the D2D E-Racing team had a rough night tonight, but you managed a podium finish, second spot. Tell me a little bit about your evening.
Well, my evening was fairly calm. I mean, I qualified pretty well, got out there, and I was out behind Michael. I figured I'll just stay here, and all of a sudden there was a gap behind me. So something happened on lap 1 around, I'm guessing turn 2, turn 3. I don't know. I'll have to check that out on the broadcast.
Yeah, it seemed to be that whole first lap, and let's just say Brandon had a rough night. So I just know that he was in the pits about at least 4 times, so he had a rough night. And then your brethren in the GT3 side also, your team didn't do so well, but you managed to keep your nose clean. What's it about this track with these 2 classes that seemed to be a huge pace difference coming out of certain corners between the GT3s and these TCRs?
It's high-speed turns. You know, it's what we have Moss, and besides Moss, everything else is, well, I guess the little chicanes at the end, but even then, the closure rate that they have going into that last, I don't know, the swoopy rate, that's a technical race term, that swoopy right turn, and then you have that kind of the left-right at the end. They carry so much speed everywhere. So even going into the little chicane thing, I mean, they're honest. They're passing us left, right. Going into the left, they're passing us on the right going in there. They just carry the speed difference is at this track, it seems to be noticeable more than other tracks.
Yeah, it seemed to be, and that's what we had noticed too, is that within like 3 laps or something, the GT3 leaders were already coming up on the TCR pack, and just coming out of turns 2 and turn 3 was just the speed delta was incredible. Watching this, it had to be just that much more difficult to really be watching your mirrors, basically apex out from every corner, because there might be a GT3 in there.
I was really, I mean, you kind of glance up there, but you can't race because you're committed with the TCR. There's no if you're in the middle of a turn, there's no like, I'm going to let up and, you know, get on more of the inside. You have to make that decision before you even get to the turn. Yeah. So the good thing is in practice, we were chatting a lot with the GT3 guys, going back and forth. They're kind of practicing a little bit because the best way for them to pass us on most of these turns was to set us up for the inside. We, in the TCR, that front wheel drive, we just drift all the way out. There's no way we're coming back, and they just go on the inside. We just kind of hold our line, staying out there. Unless there's a big gap, then we shoot back over to our racing line. But for the most part, try to stay on the racing line. But man, they're on you. Like, we clear the apex, their nose is already there. I mean, they're just on us.
Yeah, it was a wild thing to watch, and to be able to get through 90 minutes of that and keeping your nose clean is actually a pretty big accomplishment on a night like this, because attrition was high, to say the least. Something about like maybe 12, 13 cars didn't finish that race. So,
every time I came by the pits, there was a lot of blue in there. So there was a lot of people sitting in the pits, and I was going, man, that's like a parking lot.
It really was. So, yeah, consider yourselves one of the lucky and the skilled ones to come out of there tonight on not just a successful survival night, but also a successful finishing to be able to take second spot. Anybody want to give any special shout out and thanks to?
Of course, my family, lovely wife, let me do all this stuff. You know, it takes a lot of time, takes a lot of money sometimes. So I appreciate that. Teammates at D2D are always awesome. The league, I love how the league is run. Love the admins, and of course you guys for doing the broadcast. Can't wait to watch it.
It's an exciting one, I'll tell you that. So congrats tonight, Eric, on the second place finish, and good luck next time out.
All right, have a good evening.
You too.
All right, there you go. It is Eric Violet from D2D eRacing. Let's move now, Larry, to our winner in TCR, driving the number 47 Full Send Racing Civic Type R, not Hyundai Elantra. Got to catch myself. Michael Polachek.
So, Mike Polisek, you had a rather, almost I would say, uneventful night in just walking away from the rest of the TCR field. And it seemed in our view that you were able to kind of pick and choose how and when you let those faster GT3 cars by. Are we at all right on this, that you kind of were able to control that once you had a gap set?
Somewhat. I mean, Mosport's a very interesting place for multi-class because most of the corners you can go too wide on, so it's pretty obvious when a GT3 is just trying to overtake you and when they're trying to hang back. So sometimes you need to make that really clear by like defending the inside of a corner or just taking an alternate line through a corner. But really it wasn't that bad, and I was able to control the traffic pretty well and just work well with everyone else around.
Yeah, you seem to really be able to do it well. A lot of the other drivers unable to really keep their noses clean. But you also were the only one in the Honda tonight. Comfortable with that car around this track? Is that car finally coming back in the TCR ranks a little bit?
Still getting used to it. I mean, it's definitely a much harder car to get the most out of it, and I certainly don't think I've gotten there yet. I'm still trying to get used to it. It's definitely very different to the Elantra and all the other TCRs. Better in the corners, but it is a lot slower on the straight, so you really need to make every single corner exit count.
Yeah, you seem to really be nailing it tonight. Obviously taking this thing right from pole all the way, the green flag all the way to the checker. Really a great run. We talked a moment ago with Eric Violet about this traffic tonight. You know, it just seemed to be a little bit extra crazy tonight compared to last week, the last event there at Fuji. Was that your impression, at least, that the GT3s were just a quicker through these high-speed corners?
Kind of. I mean, the first pass through was very scary because all of them were in packs, and you never really got that many laps in clean air. So it's just really pretty much the first half of the race. I was looking more in my rearview mirror than looking ahead. So it was pretty scary at times, but overall, I had a pretty good experience with it.
Yeah, well done tonight. It's a feat of survival to be able to come out here on top at a place like this for a 90-minute race and take the win here. Now 2 wins in a row in your first 2 wins here in the season after having skipped the first round. So yeah, congrats on that. Anybody you want to give any special thanks or shout out to?
Absolutely. First of all, I'd like to thank Full Send Racing for all the support that they give to me. And I'd also like to thank my friends and family for watching this broadcast. They give me a lot of support as well. I'd also like to thank everybody who creates the series and makes it possible. It's always a really fun series to run in, especially I love the multi-class aspect of it. And I'd like to thank you guys for putting on such a great broadcast.
Well, thank you. An awesome job tonight, taking the win, 2 wins in a row, and kind of starting to set the new standard here in TCR in the World Challenge. So congrats, Mike Polisek, on taking the win.
Thank you very much.
All right, there you go. Full Send Racing's Mike Polisek, your winner tonight in TCR. Larry, let's move now over to our winner in GT3 AM, representing ZP Motorsports, driver the number 19 Porsche 911, Dean Dibdahl.
All right, Dean, I got to ask, how loose is that Porsche setup you're driving tonight?
Oh, very loose.
It looks like it. Greg had just gotten done commenting about how loose it looked when suddenly you found yourself backwards in the S's. Was that the whole night it was that loose and you were just managing it?
I think it's just over time the car just like tires just fell off. It was towards the 18-minute mark, I'd say. So the tires just couldn't keep the car stuck to the track.
Wait, 18 minutes in or 18 minutes to go?
18
it was
minutes,
a 90
18 minutes
race.
left.
Okay.
18 minutes left.
I think for a very long night if you're 18 minutes into a 90-minute race. But yeah, the last part of that, we even went to in-car on you a couple times, and we could just see your hands constantly catching that car, sort of like the old rough Porsche days, that big old 80s Porsche that was out there. But heck of a drive tonight. A lot of traffic to fight through. You were battling even with a lot of the pro category cars. Are you otherwise, other than the loose car, are you just comfortable around this track?
To be honest, I bought this track yesterday, but I just feel like getting a ton of practice in, following other people, just really helps getting to know the track better.
Yeah, you seem to pick it up pretty well and be able to lay down a very good pace to pick up that victory. So awesome job tonight, Dean, because this thing I'm sure doesn't drive anything like a Spec Miata. But so congrats on getting the win in the M class tonight. Anybody you want to give a thanks to?
I'd like to thank my family, Zane Plumley Motorsports, and I'd just like to thank you guys for hosting this event.
Well, thank you, and congrats again on that victory, and we'll see if we can start to string a few together here as the season rolls on. So your AM winner tonight, Dean Dibdahl.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. Dean Dibdahl from ZP Motorsports. Let's now bring in our overall winner, taking the win in GT3 Pro, Evan Peichel from Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing.
Evan, I don't know what to say. You lapped everyone but the top two, or the second and third place in this race. But I got to ask, as you're trying to lap Travis Schwenke on the last lap of the race, he's fighting you. Were you guys talking on comms or anything?
No, we weren't. But I was so close to him, I had to try to do it because it's not every day you get to lap everybody except for one person. He
seemed to be fighting and resisting being lapped. He just didn't want it to happen. But you forced the issue down the Andretti straight a little bit into the S's.
Yep. It was a little scary.
Well, that's what we were thinking. His last lap of the race, there's a lot on the line there. Obviously, you had a pretty big margin. You might be able to recover if something were to go wrong. But great racing between you guys, and I'm sure he was happy to finally have a chance to race you, even if it took 90 minutes and 70-some laps to get there, because you weren't really willing to race anybody, as you just checked out from the start. What an awesome job tonight. Did you just, was it the setup? Was it everything? Did you just eat your Wheaties this morning? Tell me a little bit about what went into this performance tonight.
Well, it was definitely the setup. So last night I asked a few people for help on it, and they were able to help me with it because I was not able to go more than like probably 5 laps, anywhere from like 5 to 10 laps. It would just spin, and so it was definitely the setup.
Yeah, you were just on a completely another level when you're walking away from the Orion guys like that. It's unheard of here in recent memory. And now you've strung together 3 wins in 3 races to start out this season. Things are going quite well for you. I mean, is it more than the setup? Are you putting in just extensive amounts of practice as well to try and continue to get faster in the series?
Well, it's definitely more than just the setup. If you give a setup to anybody, it's not really going to make them faster. But it's a lot of, honestly, driving every other track that I own, because you learn so much from all the other tracks. You can apply them like everywhere. And so when you get to a track like this that you have to practice for, you're able to get up to pace a lot quicker.
Yeah, because you definitely set the pace early. Your qualifying time even faster than what you had done in practice. And I believe with about 3 laps to go in the race, you set the fastest lap of the race, like a 13.2, I think is what it was. Incredible pace running tonight. I'm in awe by the performance here tonight. And 3 wins in 3 rounds is almost unheard of sort of domination. So congrats on all of that. But I'm sure you want to give a shout out and thanks to some folks for the help here for this.
Yep, I want to thank my grandparents and all my other family who were watching, and the team Geodesic with all their sponsors, GoPro, Homo Legato, GSI, and Extreme Scoring for their sponsorship this season, and then Nathan Lewis and Tristan for helping with the setup.
Yeah, you got quite a good team there helping you out to get ready for this. But at the end of the day, the driver's got to drive, and you did that tonight. 90 minutes, walking away with the victory here. Evan Peichel, congrats. 3 wins in 3 rounds. That's a pretty good start to the season. All right. Well, congrats, Evan, and we will see you in a couple weeks.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. Evan Peichel, driver of the Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing Porsche 911. As you said it, Larry,
yeah,
our winner 3 rounds in a row out of 3. Amazing run for him so far.
Yeah, great run for him. And for Mike Dam, 3 seconds in a row for him, and he's in second in points, but kind of scratching his head on where's he going to close that gap to Evan Peichel. But I'm sure the Mike Dam and his team will probably try and work a little harder for next time and make this even a closer race next time out.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so Larry, why don't we wrap things up here from Mosport, and we'll take a look at the events that we've got coming up next on the calendar. Next week, Monday night, October 17th, we're going to have rounds 4 and 5 of the Classic Sprint Series. That is our Mazda MX-5 series. It's going to be at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. 2 30-minute sprint races with an inverted field for the second race. Should be some great action, and I believe it'll be our first double header of the season after we had that
Careful now.
after we had that ill-fated night at Suzuka a couple of weeks ago. And then in 2 weeks, October 24th, join us for round number 4 of the World Challenge. Again, our GT3 and TCR cars. We're going to be at the new version of the Indy Road Course. We're going to go back to 75 minutes. I think we've got one more 90-minute race on the schedule here this season, but going to be 75 minutes from Indianapolis. And then, of course, coming this January, early January, the Ricmotech Sports Car Series returns. That's going to be GT4 and, again, our TCR cars. Always great racing, always 60 minutes in length. And, again, that's going to be early January. If you want to find out about how to join that or any of our other series, if you go to xmsracing.com, you can do that. And so for John Robertson, for Larry Lefty McLeod, I'm Greg Ginsburg, and we'll see you next week from WeatherTech Raceway. Have a wonderful week, everybody.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.